All right, aloha mai kako. Aloha. We're back with the second part of Ka'ule Kapi Punahele, my favorite recipe CPT. Welcome back. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I'll start with a joke again. What do you call a fern that wants to be a secret agent? A fern that wants to be a secret agent, you can call him or her Frond, James Frond. All right. So we're on part two of Ka'ule Kapi Punahele. Um, I just want to look at the checklist and tell you what we're focusing on. By now, we should have done in part one, we should have done items 1 through 4, found a recipe, yep, wrote it on the worksheet, yep, doubled and halved, yep. Next, we are trying to find how many ingredients to make food for the whole class. And for this problem, the whole class is deemed to be 30 people. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. You don't have to be specific for your class. Let's just follow what the booklet says. So we've determined that the whole class, let's just assume, even though this might not be the size of your whole class, it's for 30 people. Hey, leftovers are always great, right? Who doesn't love leftovers? So if we make more, that's okay. We can share with our friends and family. All right, the more the merrier. So we're working on item 5. Find out how much ingredients, how much of a given ingredient, okay, you would need to make food for the whole class. All right. So let's jump to that section. You'll find it right here. And recipe for the class. And yeah, 30 servings might sound a lot, but hey, you can always feed your kumu as well. We always appreciate food just as anyone else, just like anyone else. All right. So please remember, I've got my kulolo recipe on the left. My recipe originally served 4 to 6, and in part 1 of the video, I used 6. If you want to change it up here, make it more of a challenge for yourself, go ahead. Or if you found that the number you had earlier is a good one, you can stick with that too. But for our purposes, I originally said this does serve 4 to 6, as you can see over here. Just to make this part challenging, because we're going to do this together, I want to say my recipe serves 4. Okay, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to scale our recipe up, find out how much, let's say, of any given ingredient, how much taro, how much fresh coconut, how much coconut water, how much coconut milk, how much sugar I'm going to need. I need to scale it up to now feed 30. Okay, because this recipe, please recall, only serves 4. Okay. So here's how we're going to do that. The first thing I want you to notice is there is an example problem here. In a sample recipe, let's say it called, let's say we were making, I don't know, shortbread cookies. Kumui loves shortbread cookies. Let's say it called for 1 cup of sugar, and it served 8 people. So here's our ratio. This column is for the ratio. Notice it's 1 to 8. But as you know, Kumui likes to start proportion problems when we're setting 2 ratios equal to each other. Kumui likes to start ratio problems with words. So I'd like you to do the same. The words here are sugar, and we know it's cups. So I'm going to zoom in just a touch. This is sugar, and by sugar I mean cups of sugar. And on the bottom, it's 8. 8 what? 8 people. Okay. So the ratio of sugar in cups of sugar to people is 1 to 8. 1 cup of sugar for 8 people in this given recipe. Okay. Now I'm going to carry these words over here. I'm going to have sugar to people. And notice how everything is properly aligned. Again, there's 1 cup of sugar to 8 people. And so I want to know, in my proportion, if I want to cook now for 30 people, notice 30 is in the denominator where the people is. If I want to cook for 30, I'm trying to figure out what that is, how much sugar I will need. Okay? And so that's our unknown, that's our variable. One way we can solve this proportion, a very powerful method, whenever we have a fraction equals a fraction, as we do here, a fraction equals a fraction. One very powerful method is to cross multiply. Okay, so to solve this proportion, how did we get 8x equals 30? Well, we simply cross multiplied. 8 times x equals 30. And where do we get the 30? We got it from this cross. Okay? And so we got 8x equals to 30. And this example that's worked out for you, after we get 8x equals to 30, we need to isolate the variable x, because that's what we're solving for, which is, if you look back up here, it's how much sugar we need to feed 30 now. So to isolate the variable, we're going to divide both sides by 8. And I'm going to get x equals 30 over 8. Now, there's a couple ways we can do that. In earlier parts, we could try to simplify this as much as we can. Both are even numbers, so both are divisible by 2. So we can simplify this to 15. Let's just have the top and the bottom, 15 fourths. And we know we're going to rotate this way, okay, this way, to turn it into long division. So I have 15 over 4. And I know I'm showing work here, but just so you can see the numbers, I'm going to leave it here for now. And this 4 goes into 15 3 times. You subtract, and I have a remainder of 3. So I'm talking 3 3/4 cup. And that's right there. Another way you could do this is once you had 30 over 8 or 15 over 4, they are equivalent. I will show you that in a moment. We can go to our calculator. Okay, again, I said those numbers were 30 over 8. You can go back to double check. And we got 3.75. Yes, indeed. We can use decimals if we wish. That also, 30 over 8 also simplified to 15 over 4. Notice this division bar looks like a fraction, eh? Right, I tell my class all the time. Yeah, there's no fraction button on a calculator, but there really is. It's division. 14 over 4 is also 3.75. So notice that is equivalent to 3 3/4 cups of sugar. This is also 3.75. Okay, so you could do it that way. And here's what we're going to do. I will proceed to demonstrate how I need to scale up all of my ingredients here, to feed 30 people. But I can do it on this next page. You might be saying that's a lot of work. Yeah, this next page, okay, is for showing your work, as you see here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Remember, I'm going to focus on taro first. Let's talk about taro. I will need, I'm sorry, let's going back here. Notice we solve for x. X was 3.75. 3.75 cups, or 3 3/4 cups. How do I know it's cups of sugar? Because this is what our value for x is. And x stands for looking across sugar. Okay? So that's how much sugar we will need. All right. So we're going to show our work on the next page. Here we're talking about 3 cups of taro root. So what we have in question are, we've got taro, and I'm talking cups of taro root, but I can use shorthand here. Taro, it should always be people. If you want to put people in the numerator, that's fine too, just as long as you keep everything aligned, okay? So taro will always be on top, people will always be on bottom. So here are my numbers for the problem. There are 3 cups of taro to feed 4 people. Where did I get that for? Because that was my serving, and I just chose a number, okay? I'm going to choose 4 people. Now, I just need to know how much taro I need. There's my unknown, to feed 30 people. Okay? And so please always start these, at least for the first few, start these proportion problems with words. Okay? So as you can see here, we've got taro. All of these numbers pertain to taro. 3 cups of taro, as we see in our original recipe over on the left. 3 cups of taro. And I need to scale it up to an unknown to feed 30 people. All the numbers with regard to people, all the numbers on the bottom are related to people. Okay, so how do we solve this? Well, as we said before, we can cross multiply. So we've got 4x equals 90, divide both sides by 4, and I've got x equals 90 over 4. Both of these are divisible by 2, so we can reduce or just go straight to our calculator. But in any case, we have 45 over 2. Okay, if we divided top and bottom by 2. So in essence, that is 22 and a half. Okay, I could also do 45 over 2 on my calculator. I can show you that. 45 over 2, and that's 22.5, which is what I had here. 22.5. Okay, 22 and a half. 22 and a half, what, you might be asking? 22 and a half, that is x. Where do we see x? We see x right here. And look at the label, it is for taro. Okay. Now, that seems like a lot of cups of taro, and it actually is 22 and a half cups of taro. But let's just think about this more generally, just to see if that's right. We needed 3 cups of taro to feed 4 people. To feed 30 people, that's almost, I'm not saying it is, but it's about times 7 or times 8. Okay, if we multiply this by 7, 4 by 7, okay, we're going to be a little short. That's 28. And if we multiply 4 by 8, okay, that's too much. That's 32. So it's somewhere we're multiplying this to get the equivalent. We need to multiply our recipe by 7 or 8, between 7 and 8 times. Well, just to double check our work, if we multiplied 3 by something like 7, we'd get 21. And if we multiplied by 8, we'd get 24. Okay, let me write that in. If we multiplied 3 times 7, we'd get 21. 21 what? Cups of taro. If we multiplied 3 by 8, we'd get 24. And so our answer should be between 21 and 24. Indeed, it is. Okay, let's jump to the next ingredient and let's see how this works. We're going to just kind of start the same way. We're next talking about coconut. Okay, so we've got coconut to people. All right. So always starting in words. I need 1 cup of coconut for 4 people, and now in order to feed, going back, sorry, that last answer I had, you can record this number in your table in the previous page. Okay, all right. 1 cup of coconut for 4 people, as you can see here, and now I need to feed 30, and this is our unknown, so we just do 4x. Cross-multiplying yields 4x equals 30. And after I divide by 4, I get x equals 30 over 4. This is also equivalent to 15 over 2. And this is 7 and a half. Okay, 7 and a half what? Again, you might be wondering, that is our value for x. And we've got 7 and a half cups of coconut. Yep, and there's that magic number again. It's somewhere, just to check our answer, that's a lot of cups of coconut indeed. To get from 4 to 30, we're multiplying by somewhere in between 7 and 8. It's actually 7.5. And so we've got to do that up here too. Multiply by 7.5. And interestingly enough, you may have found the scale factor already. Okay, and that's going to be, in a sense, the key to solving this problem. It asks you how, in complete sentences, how you would adjust your recipe to feed the whole class. And we may be onto something there. Okay, showing your work will be sufficient as a start, and we'll just take it from there. Okay, guys. Just definitely show your work first. Next, let's use let's use blue. We're going to be working on, let's find some space. We're going to be working on our third ingredient, which is 1 cup of coconut. Okay, water. Okay, so I'll just say water. And this is, again, for people. 1 cup of water for 4 people. I want to know how many cups of water for 30 people. Well, this was the same problem as before. if you cross multiplied, you would get 4x equals 30. And that should yield the same answer as before. So I know that's going to be 7.5. 7.5 what? Sorry, I should say x equals 7.5. X equals 7.5 what? And we're talking water. Cups of coconut water. Okay. I can do the same thing for this one. I've got coconut milk. So I've got milk per people. I need 1 cup of milk to feed 4 people. Remember where we're getting that 4. That 4 comes from up here in your recipe. How many does it serve originally? And I need to feed 30 again. And again, this is the same problem as before. If we cross multiplied, we'll get 4x equals 30. And we should arrive at the same answer of x equals 7.5. Okay, 7.5 cups of milk. And this is our last section that I will demonstrate for you. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to help. And we can meet up in office hours and simply go through your recipe with you. We'd be happy to do that. Last, we've got 3/4 cup of brown sugar. All right. So there's a couple ways we can do this. I'm going to first start with words though. Okay. So I've got sugar to people. If you wish, we could use, at some point, I'm thinking decimals. At some point in this problem, decimals are going to be easier. So I'm going to be using decimals. For 3/4 cup of sugar, that is equivalent to 0.75. Notice I'm putting it on top because that relates to sugar. For people, we said that's going to feed 4 people. Great. So I'm beginning to build my equation, my proportion. I've got 0.75 cups, just looking this over, 0.75 cups of sugar to feed 4 people. Now, to feed 30, remember our goal is to feed 30 people, I got to find out how much sugar I need. Okay, so cross multiplying, we will get 4x equals 30 times 0.75. I'll use a calculator for that. 30 times 0.75. 30 times 0.75 equals 22.5. Okay, so this here I have 22.5. And to solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by 4, divide both sides by 4, and I've got x equals, let's go back to our calculator. I'm going to do 22.5 over 4, 22.5 over 4, 22.5 over 4 gives me 5 point, we're going to round that. We're going to round that to the nearest tenth because that should be easiest. So notice there's a 5.6. That 6 will either stay a 6 or move up to a 7. In order to determine that, I look to the right of the 6. It's a 2. 2 is quite low. So I'm going to turn this, I'm going to leave the 6 as a 6. I'm going to round that to 5.6. Okay. So x is 5.6. 5.6 what, you might be wondering? 5.6 cups of sugar. Now, there was another way too. If you caught on, if we happened to catch on, the scale factor from 4 to 30 was multiplying by 7.5. Okay, so just to double check, a different way we can do this is, what if we took 0.75, which was our original amount of sugar to feed 4 people, and multiplied it by 7.5 because we want to feed 30 people now. Well, those are interesting numbers. 0.75 times 7.5, I'll go to the calculator. That's pretty easy to remember. 0.75 times 7.5 equals 5.6. Again, that's that number that we had. Okay, so that should give us some confidence in our answer. Now, you might be wondering, if you're actually making this recipe, how do you have 5.6 or even 5.625? There can be some eyeballing, of course. Cooking's a science, but cooking is also an art. Don't want to mess with too much art though when it comes to baking. But anyway, 5.6, that's close to 5.5. We're talking cups of brown sugar. So dole out 5 cups, measure out 5 cups, and then a little over a half to get 5.6. Guys, once you finish this section, you will show some work, write down your answers here, the original recipe, I would have had 3 taro, 1 coconut, 1 water, 1 cup milk, and I'll go decimals, 0.75 cup brown sugar. Okay, write some ratios down here. This would have been 1 to 3, and what does this represent? This would have been taro to sorry. No. Excuse me on that. The ratio on this would have been 3 to 4. That would have been taro to people. Okay, and if you already showed work on the next page, that's okay, but definitely put an answer over here. For taro, looking back at my work, for taro, I can see it at the top. I needed 22.5. Wow, that's a lot. I needed 22.5. And again, just make sure you show your work somewhere. For this next line, for coconut, I would have had a ratio of coconut to people. Again, that was 1 to 4, and so on and so forth. Please just fill out this table as you're working. Okay. So that's it for now. That is part 2. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know or ask your kumu. All right, and we're happy to help. All right. Thanks, guys. Good luck with this assignment. Please help each other out. Help yourselves out. And if that doesn't work, always ask us for help. And everyone, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.